here to have this conversation. I think what you're doing here at PCS Embrace, which is why I wanted to really find out what it's all about. It's absolutely important, especially now. And the topic itself is an important topic, something that we shouldn't shy away from. So I'm glad that we're able to go on this. Is it this way? Yeah, okay, brilliant. Okay, so let's just look around the room and just tell me what you see.
Too many men.
Too many.
I second that.
Good, not enough pink.
Okay.
I think this for me, what I see is different people, different gender, different perspectives, different experiences, different unique life perspectives. And so that is what life is all about. And that's what the future really that we're going into or we're already living it's all about. So the topic today is the future of AI and why gender balance is everyone's business. So she's done a great job. Chema's done a great job introducing me. So that's usually the cringy aspect of the entire talk in itself. But so I'll just leave that bit because she's done a great job doing that. But if there's anything to emphasize, is probably going to be the last bit of this, which is earlier this year, and I think that was where we had the conversation. I happened to speak at the United Nations on AI and workforce and what the movement for the late movers, especially in the emerging South are. And it was a very well received topic and kind of like opened even my own eyes while doing the research on the topic itself of what we're stepping into. So we are developing different things in AI. As a founder in AI, we are using AI agents to simplify sourcing, to simplify hiring, and ultimately to simplify how you manage global talent. It's a big responsibility. So not just looking at the technology aspect of it, but also looking at the ethical aspect of what we're doing as well. And that's why this topic actually interests me. So yeah, so I've been able to, and I'm also going to be doing the same thing at the London Tech Week. I think that's in June, and also had the opportunity to speak at the FII 8 in Saudi Arabia on the same topic. So AI is on everybody's lips, and everyone is basically trying to say, okay, how does their own country take, be the forward player in this game? As you guys will have heard about DeepSeek, the war between China and the US. The UK wants its own version. UK has 40 billion that the government has actually announced to be able to, invest into AI companies in the United Kingdom. America is in 500 billion. Everyone is trying to find who's going to be the frontier of this. So having this conversation couldn't have come at a better time. So as you guys would know, AI is changing life. It's the revolution, and I'm excited to be alive in this era because I feel like so many things are going to be touched. Right now, it's touching healthcare. We're still at the tip of the iceberg on what this can do. We're talking about artificial general intelligence, but artificial super intelligence is also on the way. This is mind-blowing. What it could do is crazy. And what we even see in our own application of how fast this AI is learning is mind-blowing when you start to really dive into it. But then it's helping healthcare, it's touching finance, it's touching staffing, education, retail, transport, and it's going to touch all areas of business and a lot of ways in which we live and the way in which we grow. We are at a point where what do we call it? Is it the generation better were the ones that were just born this year or last year?
Oh, yeah.
Yeah. They're the new ones. But we have the alpha are still 12 years old and stuff like that. We have a competing generation that wouldn't understand anything else. And this is their reality. So can you if you take yourself back to when you have to see your friend and you have to take a bus or drive and go all the way there and knock on the door to see if they are even there. Now, can you even imagine doing that? It's crazy. Yeah. And that is the world that these guys are about to live in. They wouldn't imagine anything else that is not artificial intelligence because they're just born into it. The same way we're born into now using mobile phones and making it the norm. But then what we need to start questioning is basically who is building this future? and whose perspective is being represented in the code that we are using for this future. If you have one side, one demographic, mainly dominant within AI, what do you think AI is going to speak out? And that is the real issue. That is why it's everybody's business. So right now, the sources of, there's a lot of bias in AI.
Absolutely.
Some of it, you'll see, and the reason why you have most of these biases, like whatever you're training it with. So if AI is basically you're giving it data, giving the model data, the model is learning based on that data and is bringing out an outcome based on what you've given to it. So if I use myself as an example, so I'll say Nigerian jollof rice is the best jollof rice. And then I'll write that at the top.
Of course.
And then I'm training the AI. And if there's so many people like me and we're giving it the same information, what is the truth? The perception is already biased towards my own data. And that is how this thing learns.
And I think Eric would disagree with you that he would say Ghanaian.
Exactly. Senegalese will get up and say, no, have you tried this? So we all have our own, perception of things. And that's the thing. So if you train the AI with already flawed data, because I'm training it based on my own understanding, who says I'm right, and that is what it's going to give out. And then obviously we all have our cognitive bias. And like I just said, jollof rice, Nigerian jollof rice is the best. That's my own cognitive bias. And that's the problem we're now seeing. The consequences of having those biases is what we are now seeing. So you see some real life examples. So there's some facial recognition tools that basically cannot recognize women, or especially women of color. They're getting better by the day, they're getting better by the second. But in the beginning, I was in Amsterdam and there was a summit and I was passing through and he just thought I was a guy. He kind of like gave me a different look. I'm like, what is this thing talking about? But that is what I could recognize them. But although it's getting better, but those are and an example is, you guys know Midjourney?
Yeah.
So Midjourney is that tool where you're saying, oh, I want AI of what, you just tell it something and it gives you like a picture of what that would look like. And if you tell it to find people, or you're trying to say something about human, it can find young people, it can find old people. But when you look at the old people, it will give you mostly men and just a few women because of how it's trained. When you look at the young people, there are a lot of women in there, because they are speaking out, you know what I mean? And so that tells you how biased the data can be. Whatever you feed it is what is going to be given to you. We are the ones, humans are the ones writing the algorithm. We are the ones telling the AI what to do, and then it becomes smarter because it now understands all the different puzzles to get. In hiring, sadly, and that's why I'm in hiring, because for us, this is something that is extremely passionate for me. I'm making sure that whatever thing that we are creating, it has to have human AI augmentation. There has to be a human in the loop. We can't leave even though we're building agentic AI, but we can't leave some things just to AI to decide, we still have, AI doesn't have emotions, like I would have an emotion. Its own sort of emotion is obviously fake because it's based on what we've given to it. So there will be some sort of decisions that we can't just ultimately leave to, AI to do as that right now. And Amazon had, I think this was back in 2014, they had, they wanted to, as you guys know, AI has been around for a while, machine learning has been around for a while. It just became very popular in 2022 when OpenAI gave everyone access. But Amazon was using this, they created like an ATS and they wanted to use this to just bring in a whole lot of people into the organization to make their hiring faster. And what happened? They realized that some certain words that men were using, women were not using that in their CV. And I'm sure you guys will have heard this before. If you have 10 different criteria for an application, women won't apply unless they meet all 10 or at least 9 of it. Men meet 3 and you're like, well, whatever.
That's
And then let's go.
That's my job.
Exactly. So you could tell that because of that, they were just saying a lot of men in some specific, in some specific job roles, and they had to look at the data and started to see the bias that was in the data, and they actually dumped it. They dumped it for years and removed that tool. So this is some of the things that this could do. Another thing is like the voice assistant. Immediately you hear Alexa, in the beginning, it was just female. Siri, female. And what is it saying? It's just saying that, okay, women are more towards this sort of roles, more of an assistant role than being the dominant role. And it just has its own, it's the opposite of the bias, but it's still a bias. So what do we
Imagine
need
if Alexa was a man,
to
giving you all those instructions about what you have to do.
What? If not,
From David.
Yeah.
so,
He's telling Alexa, you calm down.
and that's it, it's like, that is what we've been taught, that,
Yeah.
oh, that is a soothing voice, this is a, you know.
Yeah.
And that is showing in what is coming out. So according to the World Economic Forum report, only 30% of AI professionals globally are women. This is actually a big improvement from the 22% in 2022. But when we say AI professionals, doesn't mean at the top, doesn't mean the ones that are actually researching and writing the codes. It just mean that they're around, you know? Because when you go deep down into that data, you realize that only 14% of women are actually researchers and part of the people even involved in the code writing in itself. That is important. That is something that we have to improve to be able to, you know, start to close this gap as much as possible. So why is this even important? Because the word, do we like it the way it is? It's not hurting anyone. That's how some people feel. But the truth is, you know, you might feel comfortable right now in our own cubicle or wherever we think we are, and saying, yeah, Alexa is fine being this, you know, this is fine being that. But what are we doing for the future generation? What are we telling them? But then there are really great benefits when we start to have inclusion. You know, it's fair, there's a lot of fairness, there's a lot of equality, and you start to get, you know, the algorithms that are used in creating this starts to create like a better and a fairer world for us. So I feel like, and according to, and I don't think I put this in here, but according to an IBM research I saw, many organizations start to see a spike in their productivity once they started to open up and have welcome diversity and inclusion. I understand that it's a taboo in 2025, and hopefully we can figure out what we could do within this 4 years of Trump. That's the real thing. You wake up every morning and another new person has basically cut that out. But then it's, you know, however we cut it out or not, it's a real situation. And if we are saying everyone is trying to fight for dominance of AI, and then we still do not have a lot of women, a lot of, you know, different perspective being put into it, for it to actually give us a better way of living and a unique experience that it could give. Innovation and creativity is siphoned if we are not, you know, including women in this conversation. Economic growth would increase once we're able to do this. And ethical considerations, you actually feel better for ourselves by including women in this conversation. So what can we do to make this happen? You know, how do we build the future that we really want? But before we even think about that, do you even think it's going to be an interesting future where we have this sort of, I'm able to ask AI a question and I'm getting the answers that are balanced and not tilted to just like a male-dominated answer.
Mm-hmm.
I'll give you an example. If you try to ask AI about, you want to go for so let me think of the one. So let's say Gemini. You know, Gemini is better now. When it was bad, you know, when it was BARD before it became Gemini, if you ask it a question that, oh, you're trying to go for a holiday, you should plan a holiday for you, and you're giving it your age and everything, it starts to tell you things that are predominantly white male. So it tells me about going for skiing. I'm like, I don't ski. Why
not?
Because I lived in a country where I didn't grow up like that, you know. But then it's also Very good question, because then why not? Why shouldn't I open my eyes to such experiences? But then shouldn't they ask me more questions? Try to find out who I am, try to find out what I absolutely like. And then with that, it can come up with a better solution. And those are, so it just assumed that everyone likes this, you know, everyone should take Starbucks, what if I prefer coffee? You know, it's just not, you know, this is more, once we have more people represented in the conversation, we get a better result, we get a more balanced result. That's the debate, to be fair.
And of course, learning that there's not just one answer.
Very true, exactly. And learning there's not one answer. We're like, and that's why I said, look around the room. You've lived an experience I can't even think about. She's lived an experience I would never understand. She's lived an experience I don't even understand. And I've lived an experience that no one understands either. But we are all unique. But if there's a way in which we can have ourselves represented one way or the other, it probably will become a better solution. So what can we do? We start to encourage, we start from the beginning, it's a collaborative effort. So we start to encourage more young women to actually go into STEM. And when they're going into STEM, computer science, AI should be something that they shouldn't shy away from. They should actually participate and maybe even take it as a course. We want to support more women in AI. You know, this is something that it's the statistics of support for women in AI is shocking. In terms of funding, yeah. So I raised some money last year, and I was surprised to hear that I was part of the 2.2% of women, but 0.04% of Black women. It's like, no, I don't even know if why are we clapping? It's a disaster. It shouldn't be. I see so many brilliant women in AI every single day. I see people, I'm like, oh my God, this is what you're trying to do for the NHS. Is anyone saying this? This is going to take away all the lines and people waiting and this, but who is supporting you? So we need to have more support in those sort of areas. There was a scandal that happened with Innovate UK last year on the competition of innovation, Women in Innovation Awards. They mentioned they were going to give, was it 50 or so? No, 40 people, no, 50, £75,000 each. If it's a grant, and then you have to actually apply and get, so I applied, I got like 80 something, I was like, okay. And then I started to see quite a few people, I thought, okay, I didn't do well, maybe everyone else got 90, and that's why I didn't get it. And then we just heard, oh, they're cutting that into half. They're only giving 25. Why? What happened? You promised. It took a long time to write this application. Why did you suddenly cut it off? Because we're irrelevant. So there was a whole lot of backlash. And so many women stood up and fought back. And at the end of the day, I still didn't get it, but they ended up giving the additional 25. And 50 women in technology, not necessarily AI, were backed and actually got money to be able to do something. So we need to fight back. We need to use our voices. We need to do more to be able to support women. And also, lastly, just to promote inclusion in AI development. When you see things that you feel could be better within your organizations, you know, the guidelines, the transparency, can we have like a black box for people building algorithms in AI, or can we really see what is going on inside it? All of that, you know, it's scary. I'm saying this, I don't even know if I want it, but it's the right thing to do. Because more innovation, more, you know, in order not to stifle innovation, you actually do not want a lot of regulation. But then this is a dangerous thing because it has the power to change the way we live. And so if we do not find a way to regulate it one way or another, we really do not know what is going to happen. Are they going to become smarter than us? Who knows, you know? We're living in a time where we are not even, you know, it's, I don't know how to describe it. When you hear some of the guys from NVIDIA that are actually, you know, working on the chips themselves, really talking about the insane thing this is going to do. And I think my tool is insane because, and this is just tiny compared to what they are saying that is coming. It's just mind blowing where the future goes. So it could be exciting, but we have to make it exciting by, working on it right now. And I won't waste too much of your time. And I think that's that. I feel like the future of AI is not predetermined, so we still have the power to be able to shape it. And is what future do you want to see? And what do you want to do to actually be part of that future that we are all going to benefit from? And then this generation better will thank us for it at some point.
Your previous slide, you mentioned education,
Yes.
and of course, it really depends whose education you want, because there are contradicting forces here who would like to educate us in different ways. I sit on the side of the Liberal Democrats, and I'm happy to say that. And I believe in a liberal education, which opens your eyes, hopefully, to the other possibilities. But there are others who would close you down completely and have you on a very narrow path of education. And I don't think that's a good future for AI if we go down that route.
No, it's not. So that's what I'm saying. It's more of being able to challenge the status quo. So the Liberal Democrats, you're not backing down. You're having your own stance and saying, yeah, this is our perspective. It should be open. This is how you want it to be done. And so what I'm saying is, why is this called the phone? Because someone woke up and said that's the name. Should it be a phone? We should be able to challenge things. And that is. So I'm very, very happy with what you said. I'm very open to what you said. But then when I mentioned education, one of the key things I mentioned was, if you're going to be in the world of AI, we actually have to understand it. But we can't have one demographic just being the only ones that are building and understanding things in AI. What do you think they're building? They're building for themselves, building for what they have lived, building for what they understand. But if we have more people, from different perspectives, building in AI as well, then we have things to compare it with. And that's the future I'm hoping my kids will be able to have. And at some point we have it too.
There was a story this morning that if you put in the Apple product, which is the Apple AI, you put in the word racist, they came back with the word Trump.
No.
It's all over. It's all over the news. If
No
you search
way.
racist, it will come up with Trump.
No way.
Someone said Trump is racist.
And then that's what's
And that's what's happening.
That's what AI is doing.
Yeah.
And if you put in the word friend, you get Putin.
Okay, so I think that is that. So if there are any questions, I'll be able
Lots
to.
of questions. Can you tell me a little bit about your own career journey as to how
Oh.
you got to where you are? Would you mind to share that?
Yeah, absolutely.
It would be helpful, I think.
Okay, so I think for me, I had a corporate career. So worked for Fortune 100 companies,
So post-university, or did you go in?
So
Without university?
this is post-university.
Post-university, you went to university?
Yes, I went to university in Nigeria, actually. I went to university in
Nigeria?
Lagos,
Okay.
and then I came to the UK.
They have universities in Lagos?
Yeah.
So
That is a comic.
They have amazing universities
Do they?
in Nigeria.
It's a very big country, I hear.
Yes, it is, and it has like fantastic people, fantastic technology, but then just has like bad infrastructure.
When I was at school, I was so thin, this is hard to believe now, but I was so thin that people called me Biafra
Oh, really?
Really?
without any real understanding of
Oh,
the
what
situation.
Biafra meant.
Biafra.
But I guess they called you that because I'm from a region.
Really?
Yeah, from.
You can
But I
identify.
guess because of the war and
Yeah.
the pictures, the images they saw
Starvation, the
of
images that were coming out,
children. Yeah, absolutely.
They thought that was a joke.
Really? It's insane. That's
Yeah.
insane.
Sorry, I interrupted you.
No, that's fine. So basically, so I think what did I even do? So I finished in Nigeria, came to the UK. I have an MBA in Aston Business School.
Sorry.
Aston Business School, Birmingham.
Ashton.
Aston
Sorry, I didn't
University.
speak that
yeah.
big about my deaf ear.
Oh, right, okay.
Ashton University, yeah.
I did some executive learning at Harvard University, Harvard Business School. And then I went into consulting for Fortune 100 companies, more as pretty much in the product management area for working on digital transformation. So I did that for Barclays, for UBS, for Hiscox, and KPMG and quite a few others.
Really?
And then I set up my own tech startup. So this is my third tech startup. So I had two exits. And one is an event tech startup, the other is a logistic tech startup. Then we started to develop software for different organizations, enterprise, small, whatever. And at some point, the demand was very high. And I decided, okay, why can't we get enough talent to be able to help us in doing this? I saw that it was quite difficult to get talent coming in. My terminology then was like a sausage factory, and I wanted to create that. And then I looked at the tools that were on the market. We had like Greenhouse, Workday, they were so complex for mid-sized businesses.
Freelance, yeah.
So I'm like, okay, do you know, I'm going to create a solution that's going to help change that. And in saying that, it was the era where machine learning started to become fascinating to me. And so we decided to go, all right, let's go AI first and leverage those sort of technology and data science to actually simplify recruitment in itself. And by doing that, we started to see a lot of things that are happening. How do you tackle the bias? How do you ensure that, okay, when it's sourcing things, it's not just giving you, because imagine the talent has done their CV on ChatGPT and then has put that into the system and then scoring high. That is full of. So we need to find a way to make sure that, he can spot all of those sort of things. So that allowed us to then build this sort of platform. We got accepted into Techstars, New York City, and got our first venture backed. That was 2 years ago, and then raised again last year. And yeah, that's the story of Techmonem in a way.
Congratulations, I think.
What a journey.
Yeah, thank you for sharing, thank you.